Hello, my loves, and welcome to EQ with Jah, Career Oracle Edition. So I saw there's something that comes up not only in my everyday life and things that I've noticed throughout all the careers that I've had in my life. I've realized that people are just now catching up to brand awareness. When we grew up for a long time, we understood that certain brands were used by our mom or dad or grandparents and so on and so forth because we thought either it was a good brand or it was a better brand. And this came from the whole concept of consumerism. At the end of the day, just because you consume it a lot does not make it better, does not make it emotionally conscious, does not make whoever runs it emotionally conscious. These are just things that somehow either become a coincidence by chance of the people who buy it, the consumers, or a company who identifies what they're supposed to identify and give people back what they should, such as like Tesla and Nike and Trader Joe's. All of these companies have taken the time to really listen to the brand awareness of their clientele. There's something that I've noticed that I always have to give a history of the old paradigm versus the new paradigm. The old paradigm was whatever the majority says, that's the rule, that's how we live, that's what we do. If you don't do that, you'll get bullied, you'll get ostracized, you won't be a part of the pack, you won't be cool, you won't be successful. All of these things, these prerequisites or whatever, that came with this type of branding of this is better because my ancestors use it, or this is better because it's a legacy brand that's been around for a while. Remember, legacy brand doesn't mean that it's great. It just means it's been around for a long time based on, again, either consumption or quality of the brand. Now we're getting to a point where I feel clients are someone who's just like me and you. Each of us is a client of someone at some point in some time. And we have to start really paying attention to how we as the client set expectations on the companies we buy from. But we also have to remember if the companies we buy from never had a moral stance to begin with, then it doesn't really matter how much you try to make a brand aware. If that brand represents something that is not aligned with your moral standards, then more than likely it's not just going to do a 360 overnight. And if it does, it becomes questionable about the brand integrity, because the identity itself is telling me that it does not represent my values, and therefore why would I continue to support a brand that's not identified with my values? Now, something that I've noticed working in the marketing and advertising world, as well as working in business and other things that I like to venture off to when it comes to business ethics in particular, it's that it comes to this term that I call client integrity. To have integrity means that you're going to tell the truth regardless of how it's going to look, to show face or whatever. Integrity means to speak the truth and have the best value or have the best outcome at heart for said thing. May it be that product for the client or representing the client or whatever it has to be. When you choose whoever you allow to be your clients, because me as a life coach and other things, I take on anyone, but there's also a level of narcissism that I know that I am not capable of working through, because I myself will have to deal with all of the things that somebody else wanted them to become, if that makes sense. That's somebody who's not ready to be themselves. That's somebody who's been living for a brand that's been given to them. You know what I'm trying to say? I'm trying to prove a point here. Like, if just because your grandfather used it and everybody else used it and your grandma used it, it doesn't mean that that brand now aligns with you. So if I meet someone who comes to me as a life coach who feels like, I'm right, you're wrong, whatever you do, I'm going to prove it wrong, that's not what I'm here for. That means you have a lot more healing work to do, a lot more towers to complete. And when you come to me, you're ready for your rebirth. That means you've surrendered to your ego. That means you've surrendered to your soul. You've surrendered to spirit. Because what I like to do is help people realize our emotions are something that are innately in tune with us all the time. They give us that aha moment. They give us that this don't feel right moment. They give us all of these moments for us to make decisions about why we do what we do. And even more so when you are a new business, an old business, or whatever, when you're taking on clients, Don't chase the dollar. Don't chase expectations. There's a lot of yes men out in this industry who will say yes to anything. Yes, 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 I can do that. We will do that. But they don't understand all of the work it takes to put in. They don't understand that showing face to appease your personal world because you're not standing up is now making the rest of the company look exposed and looking sloppy because you weren't able to be a firm integrity in that interaction with that client. For me, anytime I meet someone, it's like, here's what I can do for you. Always set out the guidelines. Remember, you as the entrepreneur, the business owner, whatever, clients come to you for a need. They come to you as the expert. So it's great to have the whole we are here to cater to you, but you don't want to become so dedicated to your servitude that you forget what your brand identity is. This is, what are you giving back to the environment? What are you doing for people around you who need your help? What are you doing for education? What are you doing for whatever your thing that you understand you're here to do to help pass on as a legacy, or whatever that thing is you feel innately you feel right to do. This is how you start identifying your identities and your morals and the type of brand and the type of branding and customers you want to come to you. Remember, a lot of these brands, they have the type of clientele they have because they understand the needs of that client during their hardest times. Remember, most people become a customer because they're going through something. And so they go out and buy something to help either alleviate, help, reduce, take away, whatever. That moment of consumption when you buy a product is to alleviate something from their inner world. And if marketers and advertisers and people who deal in communications in the world, if they start to recognize this, they'll start to understand that, wow, I don't need to have everybody using my product. I need the people who really want to use my product to be able to find it. Everyone will use it regardless, but making it more accessible and easier for the people who really identify with your brand, who really need your brand, those are the people that you should be making your brand for daily. This is where you start building loyalty. When you're able to build loyalty, people trust that you're going to not only make up for any mistakes or hiccups in your service, but also know that you're going to provide loyalty or provide really great service to a T that is higher than their expectations, because most people go in with a set of expectations. Don't do it because of their expectations. Do it because you know that that's your brand and that's what you want to represent. And if you encounter someone who does not represent your brand and they want to come in and throw a fuss, I need to speak to the manager, I need all this. If you do everything you can to help them and they still do not want your help, then you let that customer go. It is okay to say no. Do you understand? It's better to say no to someone who holds that level of what we call toxic energy, where they only want what they want to feel right. And if they have to crap on other people all day in a service role, then they will do so. Do not do that whole customer is right and give them whatever they want, because now you're building, guess what? A new fan base of what everybody wanted to coin the Karens. A Karen is somebody who, again, they always get their way because they yell at you or condemn you or make you feel a certain way. And then you make business decisions based on somebody else's inability to corral their emotional world. This is why it's very important to understand that client integrity is, again, saying, here's what I can do for you, here's what I'm willing to do for you, and here's how we can work together. And if the client is saying, yes, I agree with you, this is all I need, then that's where you start to build a really great legacy with the generation of consumers. And if you focus on only saying yes, then on the back end of it, service recovery is the hugest, whatever you want to call it, tower moment, feature in customer service. If everything was perfect in customer service, people would love it. But things don't go perfectly. That's why they have hotlines for you to call. That's why they have things for you to reach out to people if something goes wrong for troubleshooting. And if the people who are troubleshooting don't understand the emotionality of the bedside care of what it means to remember what it feels like in that moment of you just want something that you're paying for to work, if they're not listening and they're making you feel like you're just a number, this is when you start to lose customers. Now, if you're a monopoly of a company and you just take over, eventually all you're going to do is create little concentrated people, like, let's say with cable. because the cable was so linear, and then they started to do these package deals where they're like, oh, you have to buy from them because they took over this area. Sorry, this area, you can't have this because of this. That's monopolizing, and that's ridiculous. Well, that's where the birth of Netflix and Hulu and Disney Plus and all of these things came from, because they realized that maybe everyone doesn't want to watch TV this way. Maybe everyone doesn't want this lineup of programming and channels and things that you predetermined for us, and then I have to pay for all this extra stuff I don't even want. This is what the brand identity is. This is what the consumer wants. They not only want their journey, but they also want to know when they get to their journey that the destination is everything they expected it to be and more. And then they get to go explore to find new things to bring into their world. This is why having a good website or having a good social media platform that's everything is connected. Because once people find you, they're going to go off and explore. People are researching fanatics now, and they're going to dig and dig and dig and dig and dig until they get what they want. And so if you really want to have a good brand, a healthy brand that's going to last legacies, then it's important that you start paying attention to the awareness of what your brand represents and means. This means not taking on clients who do not align with your moral values. Simple answer. If you don't believe in racism, then you probably don't want somebody who has supported a level of what we call, you know, support. I don't even know what to call it at this point, because I'm baffled at how much people are still stuck in group categories and titles of genres of products. At the end of the day, you can talk about a gun all day. A gun does not represent each color of the spectrum of politics. It just represents something that we as humans came across and created. People find that it's an advanced tool, but at the same time, an advanced tool means nothing if the person holding it is not advanced in their emotions. Do you understand? So it's always important to really focus on aligning your brand with people who are going to show the most light on your brand, not aligning your brand with the people who are going to spend the most money on you. Because once you keep aligning with the people who are spending money that you don't agree with, well, guess what? Your brand becomes their identity about how they feel about the world. May it be negative, positive, or other. That's what you're saying you support. If you do not support that, then it's very important that you understand just because you live in the Midwest doesn't mean that everything has to be geared towards farmers and country. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with farmers and country, no more than if you're in the urban city, you have to focus on sending them hip hop and other things that have to do with urban culture. Yes, it is good to find things that are relatable to the demographic, but also showing people opportunity outside of their region gives them another perspective of duality that they can start to focus on and market to and bring in more of a customer base. You understand? Because just because there's something that we don't agree on the superficial level, on the organic innate need of just needing something, we can all agree that we still clearly we need toilet paper, we need things that we don't think about, that we use every single day, that needs to be for the everyday man. So if you started to care about, well, people don't really need this type of product anymore, they need this type of product. If toilet paper does run out, come on now, bidet sales went out the roof because people realize, well, if I don't have toilet paper, what's another tool that I can utilize? People will always be innovative and find ways to go to the next level when a resource runs out. So trying to capitalize on one resource and just keep it to yourself, eventually, yeah, either you're going to get people who compete exactly with you, people who are going to mimic you, and people who are just going to straight up steal from you and do their own thing. All you need to really do is, again, focus on giving back in a way that you're teaching who you are, and every day your value system aligns with this type of awareness, then that's when you'll start pulling in clients who really want the same integrity in the products they buy, not just because the products themselves are amazing, but also because it's when one of those situations where the person or the company themselves are amazing, and you want to speak for that company and you want to be an agent for that company. Like there's so many people out there, when they rock a certain brand of shoe, a certain clothing, you are a billboard for that company. Let's start making sure people who represent us are aligned with our vision, and making sure the vision is aligned with the people. That way you start having a better outcome of better service and better products, because the people who like your product and support your product and want to build with it are going to keep finding ways to help you build it, and they're going to keep finding ways to help you expand it, because people are ever changing and ever innovating. All right, guys, as always, thank you for following. I hope this made sense. Take care of yourself. Stay focused on your business, but also stay true to your value system. This is the best thing you're going to do when you're coming into a brand identity. All right, always check me out on all my social media platforms. I love you. Bezos.